introduce Clara Davis. Clara Davis is French-American. She's fashion designer and material activist focused on the research and development of biomaterials. She has a degree in textile design from the National School of Fine Arts in Lyon, France, and also in textile manufacturing and biology applied to fashion from the School of Fabricademy in Spain. Clara worked 3 years at Fab Lab Barcelona, where she learned to work with different machines and to develop smart textiles. 4 years ago, Clara started her project Bioteca, an ongoing archive of biomaterial samples. I am very pleased to have Clara today, and I'm really excited to hear her presentation on biopolymers, the future of fashion. Welcome, Clara.
Thank you, Mercedes. Well, so hi everybody. My name is Clara Davis, and I'm a French designer focused on the research and development of smart and ecological materials since 2016. Thank you all for being here with me today, and I'm very happy to share some thoughts and ideas about the situation and the future of fashion. So I guess you notice as me, like recently, we hear a lot about plastic pollution and mostly attracting the attention on visible problems like single-use packaging. And I totally agree, it's a big issue. But what about the invisible problems? Microplastics particles, for example. Today, I will talk to you from designer to designer about the problem of petroleum-based plastics in the world of fashion. This lecture will be separated in 2 parts. The first part, we will see how plastic got integrated in textiles. And in the second part, I will talk about my personal experience toward the world of biopolymers and their potentiality in the world of fashion. So yes, I'm going to start to show you a small video that is extracted from the movie called The Shape of Plastic, directed by Alan Pendry. And this movie was released in 1962 to celebrate the 100 years of man-made plastic production. So let's see, it's very short. So I hope you could hear the sound. Let's see. Oopla, sorry. Why it's starting again. I want to make the next slide. Yes. So what is plastic exactly? Well, it might sound like a silly question maybe, but actually like not everybody really knows what is plastic. And so when we talk about plastic, we generally associate it to petroleum-based plastics made of fossil fuel oils chemically transformed. But actually, from a chemist's perspective, plastic is a very large category of materials that they call polymers. And polymers are extremely long, repetitive molecules, which in the case of plastic are primarily made of carbons. And plastic can occur in nature. For example, animal horns are naturally occurring plastic made of keratin, a mix of carbon, nitrogen, and polymer. That is the same protein that you can find in your nails, in your hair. And those two can be considered as plastic at the end. The term plastic actually derived from the Greek word plastikos, that is meaning capable of being shaped and or molded. It's like a material that can be deformed and take any shapes. So there is like two different types of plastics. There is the thermosets and there is like the thermoplastics. So the thermosets is like once you mold it, it becomes like rigid and cannot be remelted. So it cannot be recycled at the end, like bakelite, silicones, and material like that. Or thermoplastic that is softened when heated and then can be recycled at the end because it can change shape again and again when it's reheated, like polyester, nylon, Teflon material, for example. So it's important to know this kind of stuff because there is two categories. And in general, when we talk about biopolymers, we talk about the thermoplastics, not the thermosets. What is the first man-made plastic ever created? Well, it is Parkesine. That is like the first semi-synthetic plastic ever created that got invented in 1862. And this material is also called celluloid because it's made with cellulose treated with a nitric acid, nitrocellulose, and mixed with like a solvent of camphor oil that is extracted from camphor trees. So that's why we say it's a semi-synthetic material because it's coming from natural resources. So yes, Parkesine was firstly invented to imitate and replace natural occurring plastics like horns, turtle shell, ivory, for example, like rare materials that were expensive to make maybe like product more accessible to like a larger public. So here we can see like two different combs. One is made of inside and decoration horns, and the other one is made of Parkesine. And we can see like the difference. It's quite different. So in 1885, a French photographer called Hilaire de Chardonnay had a little accident in his darkroom. Basically, he spilled some of his collodion, that is like a solution you use for developing photography. And when he started to clean his mess, he basically, like the material that dried with the water start to pull away and create long threads. And it reminded him like suddenly like the threads of silkworms. And he continued his experiments basically, and invented himself like a tool that was like a small metal plate with like drilled holes. And he started to create some thread out of it and woven into a cloth. And he invented his new material, the Chardonnay silk. And this was the first semi-synthetic fiber ever created. And actually, like this synthetic silk got pretty popular after being exhibited in Paris in 1889. And 3 years later, Chardonnay like opened his own factory to produce this amazing material. But on the way, he got some problems, and because this material was highly inflammable. And one of his factory actually burned down. And yes, the time he tried to find some solution to change the chemical composition of his material, other chemists got the idea and found the viscose, that is kind of the second version of this Chardonnay silk. And basically, so this viscose was created from the cellulose of wood chips, so of trees. And and transformed with another chemical to basically like, mostly it was sodium hydroxide, to create like these threads. And it was not going to be inflammable, this one. So it was much more efficient and commercialized easily. So that's how Ryan viscose, let's say, Ryan fibers started. Another interesting material that got invented, I think, in 1895 by two German chemists, but it got patented in 1899. And these two chemists wanted to replace the old classroom slate blackboard with something more lightweight. And basically, on the way, they discover like this new amazing material, like casein, that is like the protein contained in the milk, that could harden with like formaldehyde. I don't know if you know this material, but today it's very wrongly perceived because it's very toxic. So basically, they discover like that these two materials together could create a hard material that could be shaped and create different accessories out of it. And in the same time, because always when there is a discovery, there is someone else somewhere else that is finding some kind of something similar. So this other company that was in France called Galalith, that means milkstone in Greek, also discovered this new material, the same, and start a company and sell it. And basically this milkstone material got very popular because it was odorless, non-inflammable, resistant to solvent, but also acids, and could be declined in a lot of colors with different texture, matte, shiny appearance. It was like hard as a stone, but could be like drilled, milled, polished. It was like a revolution. So basically this material like find quickly its place in the jewelry market, becoming like a substitute for rare and expensive materials like ivory, pearl, horn, marble. And in the 20s, this material, Galalith, even like took shape of brushes from the Bauhaus, from Auguste Bonaz, I think, and also like Coco Chanel was making her button for her dresses with Galalith. And even Queen Mary of England gets some, create some jewelries out of this milkstone. So it was, yeah, it got his time. But then during the Second World War, that's why he ended, because we were out of supply of milk. It was like a rare and expensive supply. So it, on the way, stopped to be produced. So let's go back a little bit backwards. So in 97, there is this other interesting material, bakelite, that is the first fully synthetic plastic ever created by Leo Baekeland. And basically, like, it was inspired by the Galalith because they also use a formaldehyde with petroleum phenol, and together it was creating like this new material that is called like the first fully synthetic plastic. And Baekeland described at the time his discovery like similar as plastic that occurs in nature, such as amber, but like with a much larger palette of properties. So bakelite could be molded and can be molded into like nearly infinite shapes and colors. It is also lightweight, durable, attractive, resistant to water, heat, and also very affordable. So that creates a big impact inside the world of fashion, because bakelite really replaced like a lot of jewelries back then, especially in the 20s, in the same time as casein. Yeah. there is someone with like a micro open. Maybe if this person could like shut it down because it's kind of resonating in my ears. Thank you. So to go back to like textile fibers, so in 1935, nylon get invented by Wallace Carothers at the DuPont company. But his invention got popular much later. So nylon is the first fully synthetic fiber, and it's derived from petroleum-based chemicals. And this new fiber is going to arrive at a key moment of the history, because just before the start of the Second World War, at that moment we were lacking silk supply, and the production of nylon is going to start to be used as a replacement to create like parachutes or other military equipments like ropes. And then after the war, the silk is still in short supply and costs more than nylon to be produced. So DuPont's company is going to decide to promote like nylon stockings as better than silk stockings. So really try to replace with this cheaper material to completely replace it in the market and make bigger profits also. So it's going to be advertised like a lot, like better than silk. That is kind of funny today. So in 1941, so yeah, it's going after the, well, yes, during the Second World War, it's like the explosion of synthetic fiber. There will be like the Orlan, that is the first acrylic fiber by DuPont that is going to be designed to replace wool. But actually, like at this moment, they're not going to have a lot of popularity. It's going to come later. But this is in 41 that is getting created, that is called Orlan. And basically, so this synthetic polymer, synthetic fiber is created from like a polymer that is called acrylonitrile. That's why it's called the acrylic fiber, that is extracted from crude oil. Yeah, this fiber will not be like very popular until the 60s, basically. So in the same kind of period, there is another chemical industry called Imperial Chemical Industries, ICI, sorry, that invented Terylene, that is the first polyester fiber, but rapidly is going to take it over by DuPont company in 46 with the Dacron fiber. That is like a polyester fiber that is designed to replace cotton. So we saw that they're trying to replace silk, try to replace wool, try to replace cotton. And in the early 50s, this synthetic fiber is going to be introduced to American public as like a miracle fabric that could be like worn, pulled and washed without any wrinkles. Like it's really going to be advertised as like a magical fabric, so easy to maintain good. So today, like polyester remains the most widely produced fabrics in the world, and it's really hard to find consumer apparel that doesn't like contain at least some percentage of polyester fibers. So polyester fiber is made of ethylene glycol that is generally derived from crude oil, but this component, ethylene glycol, could also be derived from plants like sugarcane, for example. Some of the biopolymers called PET biopolymers can be derived from plants like sugarcane. However, like it doesn't mean that it is biodegradable, because basically they have exactly the same chemical identity, and then it's like the same as if it was coming from petroleum. So yes, that can be biodegradable, coming from a renewable resource, but not be completely biodegradable. So in 1959, DuPont invented Lycra, that is also called spandex, that is meaning basically it's expand but reverse spandex, expand, or elastan, that is also the name used, but I think in Europe, more in France, and like this. That is like an extremely elastic fiber that is going to like completely revolutionize the world of fashion, because basically this fiber is going to start to allow women to wear like more comfortable clothes, less stiff garments, and well, it's going to take some time, but in the 80s, Lycra is coming like with like big force, becoming like very popular because mostly of the dancing sports like aerobic, because the outfit, for example, of Jane Fonda like was completely like a full Lycra outfit. So it's going to create the kind of promotion by itself. And then with the 80s, the sportswear like become very like popular, like people want to wear comfortable clothes. And yeah, those textiles are also quite cheap and very accessible to everyone. So it's going to help also to break down some social codes and reduce social inequalities into clothing and stuff like that. But it's going to take some time. So in the 60s, that I call the new age of plastic, it's mostly like because petroleum-based plastics are going to become like more visible in the fashion world and revendicate as a new and interesting material that could bring new aesthetics. So yeah, in this period, like it's the space age revolution, the race for the moon. We can see like in the early 60s, like André Courrèges, that create like a series of plastic dresses that are transparent, short, provocative, made of PVC, polyester, vinyl, all of this plastic, like the plastic that you imagine when you think plastic. And yeah, all of these special outfits of Courrèges is going to like create like phenomenal success, influencing like other designers like Pierre Cardin with his Cosmos collection from 67, but also like Paco Rabanne that designed like plastic bodysuit costume for Jane Fonda in the science fiction movie called Barbarella in 68. And well, plastic is not only attractive for its new aesthetics, but plastic is also like offering like new functionalities in the textile industries. With synthetic fibers, it's now possible to create like performative textile that can resist to high temperatures, thermal shock, resistant to fire, radiation, even like textile that like Kevlar that are bulletproof, for example. And these properties are going to make like petroleum-based synthetic textiles the best material to go into space and conquest the moon. And actually, like plastic did conquest the moon, because in 1969, when Neil Armstrong stepped on the moon and he's planting his flag, his American flag, this flag is made of nylon. So yes, plastic conquest the moon also. Yeah, so quickly to summarize, because I see the time is passing fast. So we saw that petroleum-based textiles got integrated in the world of fashion because of a need of finding like replacement to materials that were becoming rare and expensive due to the Second World War. And firstly, like petroleum-based fabric, made the fashion product cheaper, more affordable, and accessible for the people to buy. And customers were very enthusiastic about the new performance and resistance of this new material. They were requiring also less maintenance. They were easy to clean and promoted as more durable. And today, like it's not considered as a good thing today, I guess, but back then it was a good thing, that it was more durable than natural fibers. And plastic-based fibers can produce high-performance textiles for specific jobs like policemen's and firemen's textile that we didn't have before. But, and there is a big but, now we cannot really ignore the problems because, first of all, crude oil is a non-renewable resource that will disappear one day, so we cannot continue to exploit it forever. Second, one of the big problems with petroleum-based fabrics is that during their production process, they use toxic chemicals that damage the workers' health and the local areas also where it's produced. They're not biodegradable and takes hundreds of years to break down in nature. This one.
Don't worry, Clara. I think it was like a message from the recording, but it's okay.
Okay, amazing. So yes, they take hundreds of years to break down in nature. They are also usually difficult to recycle or even impossible to recycle, depends, or cost a lot of money, like billions to recycle, depend. And the last point, but not the least, is that the problem of synthetic fibers is the microplastic emissions that is created mostly from polyester and acrylic fabrics. But yeah, basically they pollute our soil, our air, our oceans, poisoning then our food chain and affecting the life and health of animals, plants, and humans, us. So yes, here on the little diagram, I don't know if you can see nicely, there is like you can see like where the microplastics come from, and we can see that 35% is coming from the clothing and textile industry. So 35% of the total of everything, it's a lot. We are actually the first category. Another information that shocked me is the graphic from the Global Plastic Diet campaign that shows that due to particle plastic pollution, we eat approximately like 1 credit card of plastic every week. So imagine like the amount per year. It's, yeah. So here is like a little diagram of the global fiber production in 2019. And we can clearly see that market. So the thing is, cotton is not always eco-friendly. So probably you already know this, but yeah, cotton is like a natural fiber that is produced from renewable resources and biodegradable. But unfortunately, cotton is not always better for the environment because cotton cultivation requires a huge amount of water, pesticide, and fertilizers to grow the crops. These harmful chemicals run off into the surrounding waters, poisoning the soil, and end up being like present in potentially dangerous concentration in end products. So sometimes semi-synthetic fabrics like lyocell, for example, that is like a derived method of viscose, but better for the environment than the one used for viscose, because basically in viscose you are using like a toxic chemical that is the sodium hydroxide, but in lyocell they replaced it by something that is also a chemical but not as toxic, and also it's in a closed loop system, so it means that those chemicals are not just thrown in the nature afterwards. So yes, there is some semi-synthetic fabrics that are better than, for example, a completely natural fabric. So it's natural doesn't always mean better for the environment. So yes, today most of the textiles used in the fashion are not ecological. So as designers, how can we create a better future for the fashion industry? Well, I think design can be a very powerful tool to materials like utopic ideas. I feel like designers want to better understand the materials world we are living in, to understand what, I think that designers want to better understand the material world we are living in, to understand what they are using, what are the raw materials, what the raw material come from, is it ecological, ethical, cultivated, harvested, does the fabrication process and method use are toxic, do they use any like toxic chemical, are they properly discharged or reused, how the full ecosystem of a product line works. Well, it's not easy, of course, and it's not just our full responsibility. I think we also like need to create proper certification and labels that can help us also in this full process. So yes, so I start basically to look into plastic alternative in 2016 because I got very like sensitive to the damage caused by the petroleum industry. And I started my research in the Fab Textile at the Fab Lab Barcelona. And basically my first focus, because I was already interested in plastic material before, I really like the aesthetics. For me, like I was already like working on weaving recycled plastic material in my degree. So I wanted to continue on this and like try to like basically create this same kind of material, but eco-friendly completely. And my first question was like how to create like biodegradable material that performs